So at Slant 3D, we are working as hard as we can to build as much as we possibly can. And throughout that process, we create some projects and then we just don't continue on with them because you have to iterate through them and find out what works and what doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't work for the company, sometimes it doesn't work for the client. So we try stuff and very often we kill stuff. Here are a few of the things that haven't made it through up to this point in the company. So the first project we're going to talk about is the Mason. The Mason was our consumer 3D printer. And the reason we had created this printer is because there was a compatibility issue between printers outside of our print farm and printers inside of our print farm. Anybody who's really close to the industry knows that when you're working with FDM style machines, each brand of printer kind of has its own personality based on how the firmware has been tweaked and what the raw materials are and what hardware you used inside of the machine. It can cause different artifacts and different types of behavior inside of the machine. Everything from expansion or compensation for dimensional accuracy to just ringing if it's a really low quality machine. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to get people graduated from something like an Ender and get them to a machine that would create the exact same thing that was created inside of our print farms. That way they could complete all of the prototyping and all of the setup for their part, get the result that they want, and then just send us the G-code. And then we could take that and put it into production without having to worry about any sort of conversion or translation issues because they were printing on an Ender or they were printing on an Ultimaker. And now they were printing on our machines, which are just a little bit different. So we have to send them a sample and they have to verify it and send it back. If they had one of our machines, all of that would be gone. So that was the point of the Mason. The Mason was meant to be a consumer version of our Slant box machines. The reason we shut it down though is that inside of our print farm, we iterate very quickly on our machines. Right now we're on version 14 and probably gonna start working on version 15 before 14 goes into full production. With that rate of iteration, it became an issue to where our Mason machines were not staying up to snuff with what our print farm was turning into. So they weren't providing the benefit that they were initially designed for because the system was moving faster than the single machine. The other issue that we had is we are a print farm contract manufacturer. We produce parts, but we can't do that if we're also manufacturing a consumer machine because that's entirely a different business. It's basically a lack of focus, and it was a mistake on our part for taking it on because selling 3D printers is very different from selling printed parts. And that is something that we just could not continue to contain inside of the organization because it was taking too much time. The other issue was at the time we shut it down, it was still kind of COVID times and supply chain issues were an issue. So we didn't want to continue to push on a product that we couldn't sustain really, really well. If we couldn't make a good product and make sure that everything was great for the client, we didn't want to do it. So we shut it down, sold off the last few of the machines to people who knew that we weren't going to really support it anymore. And then we shut down the project. The next project that we canceled, Twist 3D. Twist 3D was a flat rate 3D print service. Basically for $29, you could get any black PETG part printed and shipped to you. It was a really nifty idea because we had reached such a scale inside of Slant 3D that we didn't really care what part you put on the machine so long as the machine was running. Twist was meant to really simplify the prototyping process and kind of be a next step from the Mason. Since people didn't want to operate their own machines, we just wanted to make it as seamless and easy as possible to prototype. The Twist didn't work out just because it, again, didn't get the number of resources that it needed. Quite frankly, as I look at it and talk about it right now, it might be something that we want to bring back because it is really useful to allow a seamless prototyping process with our print farm. So some version of it may be recreated in the future, but the other challenge with prototyping is the fact that you have one part and one chance to do a good job. And in order to maintain that flat rate, we couldn't really do an engineering evaluation of the part and converse back and forth with the customer who was ordering that part. It was you get what comes off the machine because we don't know what you designed. We don't know what was weird about it. We printed with generic settings that always had support. And if your part didn't work inside of that or it wasn't a result that you liked, we couldn't really help you because that was the nature of the service. If you want high levels of automation, you don't get any humans. So you had to iterate and adjust to the system, and customers weren't ready for that yet. And again, we weren't delighting the customer the way we wanted to. So we ended up shutting down Twist. It's something that we might bring back at some point in the future because it's a really good idea and has a lot of merit in order to smooth out the prototyping process. Filament sales, we shut them down. We have been producing filament for over 3 years at this point for our internal use. During COVID, we produced a bunch of filament for local people doing PPE and that kind of stuff, but then we eventually shut it down because again, we're a commercial parts maker. We do not sell filament. We do not sell consumer products unless those products come off of the machines themselves. So the filament was never a big target for us, but we are going to start manufacturing filament again, but that will mainly be targeted and is something we decided to do because it helps the mission of the company, which is to make manufacturing free and unlimited. And the only way that's possible is if filament gets more affordable. We don't have to make money off the filament, so we're able to sell filament at break even or slight profit as compared to other filament manufacturers that have a lot of overhead. So we will be bringing back filament, but at this moment it's still shut down, and we did kill it a couple of years ago originally just because that was something that was a distraction inside of the business and wasn't helping us improve the quality of the parts we were producing for our clients in our core business. COVID PPE. Well, this one's kind of obvious because as far as I'm aware, the COVID is pretty much over for most of the world at the moment. So no, we don't make PPE anymore of any sort, but we did make a lot of it during the pandemic. For a couple months there, our whole entire print farm at the time was producing thousands of pieces of PPE. Version 1 through 10 machines. This is already out of date. Inside of our print farm, we are on version 13 is in production, 14 is being worked on, 15 is on the sketchboard. Version 1 through 10 have all stopped production. Obviously, all those machines are still in operation until they burn out or just stop working. All of our machines are designed to be backwards compatible, so even though a version of the machine goes out of whack, we will continue to support it for a while, and it will continue to be able to produce good parts. The trade-offs that we have is like maybe they have a higher amount of maintenance, or maybe they have some weird user interface design that we didn't like and that kind of thing. So we turned it off. But that's, yeah, the version 1 through 10 machines are all totally out of production. We still produce a few version 12s because there was an architecture change that we made at that time. Software. This is an interesting story. In Slant 3D, we produce everything that is used inside of this building. We make filament, we make software, we make the machines, we make many of the components for the machines. That level of vertical integration is a side effect and something that we were forced to do, not necessarily something we wanted to do. But part of that software that we create is actually the production software itself, which doesn't exist out there on the market. There's no print farm software that is really optimized for mass production. Most of them kind of break down once you pass 100 parts or so, and we're producing tens of thousands. So we had to go from scratch there. Our version 1 software was basically proof of concept and worked inside of the system. Our version 2 software, we completely threw away. We ended up taking all of that software work, and it was about 6 months worth of effort. And we threw it all in the trash because if it wasn't going to be useful or wasn't a significant upgrade from the other software, it wasn't useful. And it was really buggy. And the main reason for it was mainly the team architecture at that time wasn't quite right. So there were more issues with the software as a side effect of the people working on the project. So we did a revamp of our team, and right now version 3 is being implemented, and it is going to be supporting a lot of our API architecture and a lot of our print-on-demand components. So it's just gonna be a lot smarter, a lot slicker, a lot more scalable. That software is going to be very fundamental to how we continue to scale here into the multi-thousands of machines. We've got our mega farm here, which is gonna have 3,000 machines in it when all is said and done. And then we have a couple other facilities that we're getting planned out right now that we wanna get ramped up. But that's pretty much it. Hope you enjoyed that. Those are all the projects that we've built here at Slant 3D that we've ultimately shut down and thrown in the garbage because the world keeps on moving. And if you're not moving with it, you're gonna be passed up immediately. So we're very quick to iterate and very quick to move along, but also very quick to try stuff out, because if you don't know if it was a better option than what you were doing before. Have a great day, everybody.